Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Richardson Hitchens wins a unanimous decision over Gustavo Lemos. And as with all my review videos, I've done this, I'm doing this like 5 minutes after the fight's finished, 10 minutes maybe. And I know there's going to be a lot of people saying that Lemos got robbed. I had this fight a draw, 114-114. There were several swing rounds. I wouldn't have a problem with Lemos winning by a couple of points. Richardson Hitchens got two cards, 115, 113. Okay, I can live with that maybe if you give everything to Hitchens. But one of the guys had it 117, 111. I have no idea what that judge was watching. None at all. This was a very close fight with I would say, 4 swing rounds maybe. And like I say, I had it a draw. When I was totting up my card at the end of the fight, I thought, I think Lemos has got this. And I was a little bit surprised to discover that it was a draw on my card. But that was probably because Lemos finished much, much stronger. And this guy Lemos, talk about having an engine. I mean, he came in undefeated, 29 wins, no draws, no defeats. He hadn't fought at this level before. Probably the best, most recognisable name on his record was Lee Selby, who was really a featherweight, and that was down at lightweight. Now he's fighting at 140. He's only like 5'5.5", I think. Hitchens is about 5'10", but he is one of those fighters, Lemos, who makes his size work for him because he fights quite small. He comes storming in, but it's not without rhyme and reason. He cuts the ring off very well, and he'll only sort of jump in when he's got it in his head what he's going to do. And in the first couple of rounds, I mean, I definitely gave him the first couple of rounds because he landed a few overhand rights, or a couple of individual overhand rights anyway, throughout both of those opening 2 rounds that definitely got Hitchens' attention. And Hitchens, Clarissa Shields actually was one of the commentators, and she said as early as the first round, you know, get your back off the ropes. What's he doing with his back to the ropes? Hitchens she's talking about. And yeah, that occurred to me as well. Now, Lemos, he does cut the ring off very well. He does. It's, you know, he takes those little side steps, and when he gets within range, he lets punches in bunches go, and he does not neglect the body. He bangs the body very well. Hitchens, when he was on the ropes, was covering up, you know, swaying and weaving, generally keeping out of trouble, generally speaking. But there's no doubt that the eye-catching stuff was coming from Lemos. Now, after the first 2 rounds, Hitchens started to look a bit better, and certainly in the 4th round, he had, I think, his best round of the fight so far. He was beginning to let his hands go. He seemed to have settled into the fight by the 4th round, and he was he was letting his hands go. He seemed much more confident. He seemed to have suddenly found the range, as if he could control. He didn't need to be on the ropes. Still, his back to the ropes a bit too much, perhaps. Clarissa was screaming at him. She was obviously supporting him, even though she was supposed to be neutral. She wasn't neutral. She was supporting her. He must be a friend of hers. But there's no doubt. I mean, Hitchens looked like, you know, after say 5 rounds, he looked like he was, you know, well on the way to containing Lemos, even though Lemos was always dangerous, always dangerous. Now, Lemos certainly doesn't have one-punch power. In his 29 wins, he's got 19 KOs, but neither does Hitchens, because Hitchens has only got 7 KOs in 18 wins. And in fact, there's talk of him facing the winner, now that he's mandatory for the IBF title. There's talk of him facing Subriel Matias if Matias can get through Liam Paro, which is not a foregone conclusion, but you would certainly make Subriel Matias, you know, a heavy favourite. But if Hitchens does face Matias, there's only one winner for me, and that's Matias by stoppage, by knockout, because Hitchens just doesn't have the power to keep her. He couldn't really keep Lemos off him, not for long periods. And if Matias gets him in the ring, and Matias has bigger dimensions than Lemos, and is a more precise puncher, then I definitely think he'll beat Hitchens. Having said that, I mean, Lemos wasn't, don't get me wrong, he's not a crude slugger. He's not reckless. He looks reckless because he's this little short, squat guy. He's kind of like Pitbull Cruz in one sense. With Pitbull, everyone thinks he's just a raw slugger. He isn't. He's got some semblance of technique. And Lemos is, like I say, the engine on the man, the stamina on the guy. Jesus Christ. It was really quite shocking. But then in the eighth, I think it was the eighth round, Lemos landed an overhand, I think it was overhand right, and Hitchens for the first time was hurt. His legs were not under him fully, and he was grabbing and holding, and there was about a third of the fight left. And this, to me, is where Lemos made up any kind of deficit that was on the cards. Even though in the middle rounds Hitchens was controlling it, Lemos suddenly found himself in the ascendancy, and Hitchens was, whenever Lemos got close, he was grabbing and holding him. Now, Lemos, having said all that, Lemos, yeah, he was banging the body, he was banging, switching it to the head to body, body to head. But I think he did get a little bit reckless, probably because he thought, I might be behind here, and okay, I've hurt him. And he was, reckless is perhaps the wrong word, perhaps a little bit over eager is the phrase. Because despite the fact that Hitchens was firing punches back and was trying to move, his legs clearly weren't under him. And Hitchens showed that he's got guts. Hitchens showed that he can sit down and fight against a fighter, a much a shorter and more compact little cannonball of a guy. Hitchens wasn't rolling over for anyone. He was trying to land his own hurtful punches. And to be honest with you, yeah, he was landing some good slick punches. Maybe not enough of them to win some of those rounds. I definitely gave some of the later rounds to Lemos, probably most of them. But there's no doubt who the guy was at the end of the fight who had the more energy. I mean, as late as the 11th round, Lemos was jumping up and down and almost jumping towards Hitchens. And Hitchens' legs, Hitchens was kind of swaying a little bit like a sort of grass in the wind. And but he was covering up well enough, and he was landing his own slick punches. Nevertheless, Lemos finished the stronger for me. And like I say, I had it a draw, 114-114. If I watched it tomorrow, I could give it to Lemos by a couple of points. Maybe even I could have Hitchens nicking it. I don't know. You only get one shot at scoring a card, and mine was a draw. And the two of the guys had it 115-113. For Hitchens, okay, I can live with that. But 117-111, that's ridiculous. What is that? 9 rounds to 3? No. Not 9 rounds to 3. No, 7-5 at the most to Hitchens, at the very most. And if you had Lemos the winner, no problem either. No problem at all. So what did you think? Who do you think won? And of course, the word robbery gets slung around all over the place. They'll probably call this a robbery. I don't know about that. But let me know who you think won. And of course, yeah, leave all your comments below. Thank you, as always, for your time. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you're new. Hit the subscribe button. It takes a second. And, yeah, tap that like button as well. Like, because they count them, apparently. All right, guys, not a bad night's boxing, that. I enjoyed it. Did you? Let me know. Bye for now.